The great hall of the Galactic Coalition Command Center gleamed with lights from 1,000 worlds. Ji-Wan stood on the platform, uncomfortable in his formal uniform as beings from across the galaxy applauded. The war was over. After 3 years of fighting the Void Swarm, the parasitic creatures that had consumed entire planets, humanity's tactics had finally turned the tide. Admiral Hyunwoo placed the Star of Liberation around Ji-Wan's neck. The metal felt heavy, though it weighed almost nothing. Ji-Wan had lost too many friends to feel like celebrating. He thought of Ming-Yu, who died holding a breach in the ship's hull. Of Hana, who sacrificed herself to save a colony of civilians. The applause felt wrong when so many voices were silent forever. As per ancient law, Admiral Hyunwoo announced, the hero who struck the final blow may request one reward from the liberated worlds. Soldier Ji-Wan, what do you wish? Ji-Wan hadn't thought about rewards. He'd just wanted to end the killing. But now hundreds of eyes watched him waiting. The liberated planets had already prepared their offers. Wealth, land, titles, technology. None of it mattered to him. Emperor Daejin of Veltara stepped forward. His skin shimmered like oil on water, beautiful and strange. Humanity saved my world when all seemed lost. I offer my daughter, Princess Mirai, as a bride to this hero. With her comes an alliance, mining rights to 3 systems and my eternal gratitude. Princess Mirai appeared beside her father, perfect and proud. Her beauty made the assembled crowd whisper in admiration. She smiled at Ji-Wan with practiced grace, a prize being offered to a warrior. But Ji-Wan's mind drifted to 3 weeks ago. During the final assault on Veltara Prime, he'd gotten separated from his unit in the palace. Lost in the ancient corridors, he'd found himself in the deep places beneath the throne room. There, behind a door of dark metal, he'd heard crying. He'd opened the door against protocol. Inside, he found a girl huddled in the corner of a bare room. She wore a veil that covered her entire face and chains not locked but present, as if she'd been taught to wear them. When she looked up at him even through the veil, Ji-Wan felt something. Not fear or desire, but recognition, like seeing another person who understood what it meant to be alone in a crowd. There is darkness in your General Taehyung, she'd whispered. I can see it. He will betray you when the moment comes. Ji-Wan had dismissed it as the ravings of a traumatized prisoner, but 2 days later General Taehyung had tried to surrender their position to the swarm, attempting to save himself by sacrificing 3 battalions. Ji-Wan's quick action had stopped him, but only because the warning had planted doubt in his mind. He'd asked about the girl later, carefully. The Veltaran soldiers had looked away, uncomfortable. Princess Neon, one finally said. The cursed one. Do not speak of her. It brings misfortune. Now, standing before the assembled galaxy, Ji-Wan made his choice. I request Princess Nayun as my companion, he said clearly. The hall went silent. Then chaos erupted. The Veltaran delegation recoiled as if struck. Emperor Daejin's face twisted in shock and anger. Princess Mirai looked genuinely confused, as if she couldn't understand why anyone would reject her. You cannot be serious, Emperor Daejin said, his voice tight. That creature is cursed. To look upon her is to have your soul laid bare. She sees what should not be seen. She is why I keep her locked away for everyone's protection. She warned me about the traitor, Ji-Wan said. She saved thousands of lives. I want her. She is mad, broken, unsuitable for any normal life, the Emperor protested. Admiral Hyunwoo stepped forward. The law is clear, Emperor. The hero may choose any reward offered by the liberated worlds. Princess Neon is of your house, is she not? The Emperor's face darkened. Around the hall, representatives whispered. Many looked disturbed. The Veltarans believed that Neon's soul sight, her ability to see the true nature of others, was an abomination. To be seen by her was to feel exposed, vulnerable, as if she could see every secret and shame. I am bound by honor, Emperor Daejin finally said. But know this, human. You choose your own doom. That thing will destroy you as she has destroyed everything she touches. 2 Veltaran guards brought Princess Neon into the hall. She wore the same veil, and her posture suggested someone who expected punishment. The crowd parted around her, people turning away, refusing to look. Even the guards kept their eyes averted. Ji-Wan walked across the platform and down to where she stood. Up close, he could see her trembling. Do you remember me? He asked quietly. She nodded slightly. I'm taking you away from here. Is that acceptable to you? She froze, as if the question itself was incomprehensible. I have no choice, she whispered. I never have choices. Now you do, Jiwan said. Come with me or stay. It's your decision. For a long moment she stood still. Then slowly she took a step toward him. The ceremony concluded quickly after that. Emperor Dejin left without another word, taking Princess Mireille and most of the Veltaran delegation with him. Other species representatives approached Jiwan with careful congratulations, though many seemed concerned about his sanity. Admiral Hyunwoo pulled him aside as the hall emptied. Do you know what you've done? You could have had wealth, power, a strategic alliance. Instead, you chose a woman that an entire civilization considers cursed. She saved my soldiers, Jiwan said simply. And she was alone in that room, sir. Completely alone. I know what that feels like. The Admiral sighed. You always were too soft-hearted for war. Perhaps that's why you're good at it. Take care of her, Jiwan, and watch yourself. The Veltarans aren't wrong that she can see things others can't. That ability might disturb you. I'll risk it. Princess Nayun waited by the transport, still veiled, still surrounded by guards who wouldn't look at her. Jiwan dismissed them with a wave. They left quickly, relieved. Are you ready? He asked her. I don't know what I'm ready for, she said honestly. I've been in that room since I was 8 years old. 10 years in the dark, seeing only servants who feared me and a father who was ashamed of me. Then let's find out together what you're ready for, Jiwan said. No expectations. No obligations. Just possibilities. She tilted her head, studying him through the veil. Why did you really choose me? Truth. Because when you looked at me in that room, you didn't see a weapon or a hero or a tool. You saw a person, and I think you needed someone to see you as a person too. Princess Nayun was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I see darkness in many beings. But when I looked at you, even through the veil, I saw light. Tired, lonely light, but light nonetheless. They boarded the transport together, leaving the celebration behind. Neither knew what waited ahead, but for the first time in years, both felt something strange and unfamiliar. Hope. The military vessel. Steadfast cut through space like a knife through dark water. Jiwan watched from the observation deck as stars streaked past, thinking about the passenger in the quarters below. Princess Nun had barely spoken since boarding 3 days ago. She kept to her room, still veiled, still expecting imprisonment even though Jiwan had told her she was free. He headed down to the residential section, carrying a tray of food. The Veltaran guards had departed at the first station, practically running in their haste to leave. Now it was just his human crew, and they'd been curious but respectful about their unusual passenger. Jiwan knocked on her door. Princess Nayun? I brought dinner. Silence. Then quietly, you may enter. The room was dark. She sat by the window, still wearing the veil, watching the stars. She hadn't touched the previous meals he'd left. You need to eat, Jiwan said, setting the tray down. Why do you care? Her voice was soft but direct. You claimed me as a reward. Most would simply take what they wanted and ignore the rest. I'm not most people, Jiwan said, sitting across from her. And I didn't claim you. I chose to offer you a way out. There's a difference, she turned toward him. Even through the veil, he felt the weight of her gaze. I should tell you what I am, what I can do. Then you'll understand why everyone fears me. You can see into people, Jiwan said. The soul sight. You see their true nature, their secrets, their darkness. It's not voluntary. When I look at someone, I see everything they hide. Their lies, their fears, their shame. The Veltarans say it feels like being stripped naked in front of a stranger. That's why they covered my eyes, locked me away. I make everyone uncomfortable just by existing. Does it work on humans? Jiwan asked. She paused. I don't know. I've never really looked at a human before. The guards always made me keep my eyes down around your kind. Look at me then, Jiwan said. Really look. You don't want that. I'm asking for it. Look at me, Nayun. Slowly, hesitantly, she reached up and removed her veil. Jiwan saw her face for the first time. She was young, maybe 19 or 20 in human years. Her eyes were different from other Veltarans, darker, with depths that seemed to shift and swirl. When she looked directly at him, he felt a gentle pressure like someone touching his thoughts with careful fingers. But he felt no invasion, no violation. Just curiosity, Nayun gasped. I can't see through you. I can see you, but not inside you. It's like looking at clear water instead of murky depths. Maybe humans are immune, Jiwan suggested. We're new to the galaxy. Our consciousness might work differently. She stared at him in wonder. You're not afraid. Everyone is always afraid. I'm terrified of plenty of things, Jiwon said honestly, but not of you. Now eat something before you collapse. We have a long journey ahead. For the first time, she smiled. It was small and uncertain, but real. Over the next few days, Naeun began to emerge from her shell. The human crew treated her with casual friendliness that clearly confused her. Engineer Do-hyun talked to her about engine mechanics. Dr. Eunji examined her out of scientific curiosity rather than fear. Navigation Officer Taemin taught her to play cards. No one flinched from her gaze. No one looked away. To humans, her eyes were just eyes. It's strange, she told Jiwon one evening as they ate together in the mess hall. I've spent my whole life being treated like a monster. But your people just see me as a person who happens to have an unusual ability. Humans have lots of unusual abilities, Jiwon said. Some people can hear sounds others can't. Some can calculate numbers instantly. Some can sense emotions. We learned a long time ago that different doesn't mean dangerous. Not all humans believe that, Naeun said quietly. I've heard about your wars, your prejudices. You're right, Jiwon admitted. We're not perfect. We've hurt each other over differences for most of our history. But we're learning. Slowly. Painfully, but learning. The alarm interrupted them. Red lights flashed as Captain Hyejin's voice came over the speakers. All hands to stations. We're receiving a distress call from a Veltaran merchant vessel. They're under attack by Void Swarm remnants. Jiwon ran to the bridge with Naeun following. The view screen showed a battered ship surrounded by small swarm fighters. The parasitic creatures moved with disturbing coordination, trying to breach the merchant vessel's hull. Open a channel, Captain Hyejin ordered. The Veltaran captain appeared, his face desperate. Please, we need assistance. Our weapons are down, our shields failing. Steadfast responding, Captain Hyejin said. We're coming in to help. Then the merchant captain saw Naeun standing on the bridge. His expression changed from hope to horror. The cursed one. You carry the cursed one. We're here to help you, Jiwon said firmly. No, stay away. I'd rather die to the swarm than accept help from that abomination. Naeun stepped back as if struck. Jiwon felt anger rise in his chest, but Captain Hyejin spoke first. Your choice, Captain. But we won't watch you die. We're engaging the swarm whether you like it or not. The Steadfast moved into position, weapons firing. The swarm fighters scattered, regrouping for a counterattack. It should have been a simple rescue, but something felt wrong. Captain, Naeun said suddenly, there's something inside that ship. Something dark. What do you mean? Captain Hyejin asked. Let me see their crew. Please. The view screen split, showing the merchant vessel's bridge. 6 crew members worked frantically at their stations. Naeun stared at them, her eyes intense. 3 of them, she whispered. The navigator, the weapons officer, and one of the engineers. They're infected. That's impossible, the merchant captain shouted. We've all been tested. The swarm parasites are inside them, controlling them, Naeun said with certainty. I can see the darkness wrapped around their souls. They're not themselves anymore. Jiwon looked at the tactical display. The swarm fighters were retreating but not fleeing. They were moving into a pattern around the merchant ship. It's a trap, he realized. The infected crew members disabled their own ship. They're bait to draw in rescue vessels. When we get close enough to dock, the swarm will board us. Captain Hyejin's face hardened. Can you identify exactly which crew members are infected? Naeun pointed them out one by one. The merchant captain looked at his navigator, a woman he'd clearly worked with for years. Bora, is this true? The navigator's head turned in an unnatural way. Then she smiled, and it was not a human or Veltaran expression. The swarm provides. The swarm endures. Chaos erupted on the merchant ship as the infected crew members attacked the others. The Steadfast's weapons targeted the swarm fighters with precision. Jiwon coordinated with Dr. Eunji, who had experience extracting swarm parasites. We need to board them, Eunji said. I can remove the parasites if we act fast. But if we wait too long, the hosts will die. The boarding action was quick and brutal. Jiwon led the team, with Naeun insisting on coming despite his protests. Her soul sight guided them to each infected crew member. Dr. Eunji worked with steady hands, extracting the writhing parasites and destroying them. When it was over, 3 crew members lay unconscious but alive. The merchant captain stood among the wreckage of his bridge, staring at Naeun with new eyes. You saved us, he said slowly. The cursed one saved us. I'm not cursed, Naeun said quietly but firmly. I can see things others can't. That's not a curse. It's just what I am. The captain bowed his head. I was wrong. But I'm still afraid of you. I know, Naeun said. Most people are. But fear and hatred are different things. You can be afraid and still be kind. Back on the Steadfast, Jiwon found Naeun in the observation deck staring at the stars. You did well today, he said. I finally understood something, she said. My ability isn't a curse. It's a gift that my people didn't know how to use. The swarm hides inside people, pretending to be them. But it can't hide from me. I can see the corruption. You're more than just a detector, Jiwon said. You're brave and kind. You could have let them die after how that captain treated you. She looked at him with those deep, swirling eyes. You taught me something, Jiwon. You taught me that being different doesn't mean being less. Humans understand that. I think that's why you're so dangerous to people like my father. You accept what others reject, Jiwon smiled. We're all a little broken. Might as well be broken together. Are you broken too? She asked. He nodded. Military augmentation. Enhanced reflexes, strength, sensory processing. Some people back on Earth say I'm not fully human anymore. That I'm a weapon pretending to be a person. Naeun reached out and carefully took his hand. I see you, Jiwon, and you're not a weapon. You're a person who chooses to protect others. That's the difference. They stood together, watching stars stream past. Two outcasts finding something unexpected. Acceptance. New Jeju spread out below the Steadfast like a patchwork quilt. The human colony world had been hit hard during the war, but rebuilding had begun. Green fields mixed with construction zones where new settlements rose from scorched earth. It looked hopeful, Jiwon thought. A place where people could start fresh. Naeun pressed her face against the window, fascinated. It's beautiful. I've never seen a human world before. Wait until you try the food, Jiwon said with a smile. New Jeju is famous for its fusion cooking. Earth recipes mixed with ingredients from a dozen worlds. They landed at the main settlement, where Administrator Bowman waited with a small crowd. When Naeun emerged from the ship still wearing her veil out of habit, people stared. But instead of fear or disgust, Jiwon saw curiosity. A young girl broke from her mother's hand and ran up to Naeun. Are you really an alien princess? That's so cool. Can I see your face? Naeun knelt down, startled. Slowly, she lifted her veil. The girl gasped in delight. Your eyes are so pretty. They look like swirly galaxies. Her mother came to retrieve her, apologizing. I'm sorry, she's very excited. We don't get many visitors here. It's fine, Naeun said softly, something like wonder in her voice. She's lovely. Administrator Bowman shook Jiwon's hand warmly. Welcome home, soldier. We heard about your choice at the ceremony. Caused quite a stir. I'm good at causing stirs, Jiwon said. Well, you're both welcome here. We've prepared quarters for you, and Dr. Soman is eager to meet Princess Naeun. Fair warning, she'll talk your ear off about xenobiology. Dr. Soman turned out to be exactly as advertised. She met them at the medical center, barely containing her excitement. Princess Naeun, I've read every paper about Velteran psychology and neurology. Your soul sight is theoretically impossible according to conventional science. Would you mind if I ran some scans? Completely non-invasive, I promise. Naeun looked at Jiwon, who shrugged. She's harmless. Annoying but harmless. Over the next week, Dr. Soman ran her tests. Naeun sat patiently while machines hummed and lights flashed. The results fascinated the doctor. Your brain processes quantum consciousness frequencies, Sumin explained, showing them incomprehensible charts. Most beings emit a sort of psychic signature based on their thoughts and emotions. You can read those signatures like others read facial expressions. It's not magic or mysticism. It's just a sense that most species don't have. Like how some earth animals can see ultraviolet light, Naeun asked. Exactly. To them, we're the blind ones. To you, everyone else is walking around with their inner selves on display. No wonder it makes people uncomfortable. What about the swarm? Jiwon asked. Why can she see them when they're hiding inside hosts? Soman's expression grew serious. The swarm parasites disrupt the host's natural consciousness signature. They can fool medical scanners and behavioral tests, but they can't fake a quantum signature. Nan's ability makes her the perfect swarm detector, which means, she added carefully, a lot of people are going to want to use you. Her words proved prophetic. 2 days later, a Velteran delegation arrived unannounced. The lead ship bore royal markings, and when the passengers disembarked, Jiwon recognized Lord Sang-hyuk from the intelligence files. He was high nobility, influential in the emperor's court, and according to records he'd once been betrothed to Princess Naeun. Sang-hyuk strode into Administrator Bowman's office like he owned the place. He was handsome in the Veltaran way, with perfect features and movements that seemed choreographed. His eyes swept over Ji-won dismissively before settling on Naeun. "There you are," he said. "I've come to bring you home." "This is my home now," Naeun replied quietly. Sang-hyuk laughed. "Living among humans? In this frontier settlement? You're a princess of Veltara. You belong in the palace, not playing house with aliens." "I seem to remember you had strong opinions about where I belong," Naeun said, and Ji-won heard ice in her voice. "Specifically, you said I belonged in a deep hole where no one could see me." Sang-hyuk's expression flickered. "That was years ago. We were children. Things have changed. Yes, they have. The swarm is back and now you need my cursed eyes." "The situation is dire," Sang-hyuk admitted. "The swarm has returned to our outer colonies. They're infiltrating faster than we can detect them. We've lost 2 entire stations. The Emperor requests your help. He's prepared to restore your status, give you a place of honor." "Requests?" Naeun asked. "Or demands? Does it matter? Your people are dying." Ji-won stepped forward. "She doesn't owe you anything. Not after how you treated her." Sang-hyuk's eyes narrowed. "And what do you know of it, human? You think claiming her as a war prize makes her yours?" "I think she gets to decide her own life," Ji-won said flatly. "Enough," Naeun said. "Lord Sang-hyuk, I will consider your request. But I need time to think." Sang-hyuk bowed stiffly. "I'll give you 1 day. Then I need an answer." He left with his entourage, but something in his movements made Ji-won's combat instincts prickle with unease. That night, Naeun told Ji-won the full story. They sat on the roof of their quarters watching New Jeju's 3 moons rise. "Sang-hyuk and I were betrothed when I was 7, she said. "It was a political arrangement between our families. He was kind to me at first in the way children are kind to pets. Then my ability manifested when I was 8. What happened? I looked at him during a formal dinner. Really looked at him. And I saw his true nature, the cruelty he hid behind pretty manners, the contempt he felt for anyone he considered beneath him, the emptiness where compassion should have been." She paused. "I told my father what I saw. Sang-hyuk convinced everyone I was lying, that I was mad. He publicly rejected the betrothal, called me cursed, and my father locked me away to avoid scandal." Ji-won felt anger burn in his chest. "He destroyed your life to protect his reputation." "Yes, and now he wants me back because I'm useful." "Not because he's sorry. Not because he sees me as a person. Just because the swarm is coming and he's afraid. What do you want to do?" Naeun was quiet for a long time. "Part of me wants to help. They're my people even if they rejected me. But another part wants to tell them to solve their own problems." "Both feelings are valid," Ji-won said. Before she could respond, alarms shrieked across the settlement. Ji-won's military comm crackled to life. "Swarm attack!" Multiple contacts heading for the colony center. They ran for the defense station. The swarm fighters moved in familiar patterns, coordinated and deadly. But something was wrong. The attack was too precise, too informed about New Jeju's defensive weaknesses. Naeun grabbed Ji-won's arm. "Let me see the Veltaran delegation. All of them. Now." Administrator Bowman pulled up security footage. The Veltaran ship sat in the landing bay, crews visible through the windows. Naeun studied each face intently, her eyes unfocused as she looked beyond the physical. "There," she breathed. "Lord Sang-hyuk. He's infected." Ji-won felt ice in his veins. "He brought the swarm here?" "I don't think he knows," Naeun said. "The parasite is deep, controlling him subtly. He probably thinks these are his own thoughts, his own decisions. But I can see it, wrapped around his consciousness like chains." The attack suddenly made sense. The swarm had used Sang-hyuk to locate Naeun, then followed him to strike at the colony. They wanted to kill or capture the one being who could detect them reliably. "We need to extract the parasite," Dr. Soman said. "But it's deep enough that killing it might kill him." "Do it anyway," Naeun said coldly. Then softer, "But try to save him. Even after everything, he doesn't deserve to die as a puppet." The battle for New Jeju lasted 3 hours. Human fighters engaged the swarm in the sky while ground forces protected the settlements. Ji-won led a team to capture Sang-hyuk, who fought with inhuman strength until they managed to subdue him. Dr. Somin worked through the night. carefully extracting the swarm parasite from Sang-hyuk's brain. It was one of the most advanced infections she'd seen, deeply integrated with his nervous system. But with Na-eun's soul sight guiding her, showing exactly where the parasite ended and the host began, she managed the impossible. When Sang-hyuk woke, he was different. Smaller somehow, less arrogant, he looked at Na-eun with clear eyes for the first time in years. "I see you now," he whispered. "Truly see you. What was I thinking? What did I do to you?" "You were a child who didn't understand," Na-eun said. "But you're an adult now. What will you choose to understand?" Sang-hyuk wept. "I'm sorry. For everything. I was cruel because your sight made me face what I was, and I hated you for it instead of changing myself." "Apologies are just words," Na-eun said. "Go back to Veltara. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that my curse saved your life and this colony. Tell them that different doesn't mean dangerous. Then maybe I'll believe you're sorry." After the Veltarans left, Ji-won found Na-eun watching the sunrise. "You could have let him die." "I thought about it," she admitted. "But that would make me what he accused me of being. A monster. I'm not a monster, Ji-won. I'm just someone who sees clearly. And what I see when I look at you is someone who taught me that seeing clearly doesn't have to mean being alone." She took his hand, and they watched the sun rise on New Jeju together, two people who'd found something unexpected in each other. The Coalition Council chamber was designed to be impressive. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in circular tiers, looking down at the speaker's platform. Na-eun stood there now, unveiled as hundreds of eyes watched her. She'd grown stronger in the months since leaving Veltara, but standing here still made her feel like that frightened girl in the dark room. Ji-won stood behind her, a quiet presence. He'd offered to speak for her, but she'd refused. This was something she needed to do herself. "The swarm is not defeated," she told the assembly. "They've retreated, regrouped, and evolved. They're infiltrating colonies faster than your scanners can detect. I've personally identified 47 infected individuals across 6 worlds in the past 2 months. Without intervention, they'll spread until the entire coalition is compromised." Councillor Jamin, the human representative, leaned forward. "And you're offering your services to help detect these infiltrations?" "On my terms," Na-eun said firmly. "I'm not a tool to be commanded. I'm not property to be traded between governments. I'll help because it's right, but I decide where I go and what I do." Emperor Daejin's hologram flickered to life. Na-eun hadn't spoken to her father since leaving. Seeing him now hurt in ways she hadn't expected. "Daughter," he said, and the word sounded strange in his mouth. "There's something you should know. The ancient texts of our people speak of you. The witness, they call her. One who sees truth in all things. The prophecy says she will either save the Veltaran people or doom them." A murmur ran through the assembly. Na-eun felt her stomach twist. "I don't care about prophecies," she said. "But your people do," her father replied. "High Priestess Yumin wishes to speak with you. She believes your return to Veltara is foretold." The High Priestess appeared on another screen. She was old, her skin marked with ritual scars. "Child of sight, you were born as the text predicted. Your eyes see what others cannot. You are meant to stand between our people and the darkness. I'm meant to make my own choices," Na-eun said, "not fulfill someone else's prophecy." "Sometimes our choices are the prophecy," the priestess said cryptically. The debate went on for hours. Some representatives wanted Na-eun placed under coalition authority. Others argued she should return to Veltara. A few suggested she was too dangerous to be left free. Through it all, Na-eun stood firm, repeating the same thing. She would help, but on her own terms. Finally, Councillor Jamin proposed a solution. "Princess Na-eun operates as an independent agent. She's not bound to any government, but works with all of them. We provide resources and support, but she maintains autonomy over her actions." "And who ensures she doesn't abuse this power?" a Veltaran representative demanded. "I do," Ji-won said, speaking for the first time. "I resign my commission in the human military. I'll accompany her as an independent operator. If you don't trust her, trust me." Admiral Hyunwoo looked disappointed but unsurprised. "You always were terrible at following orders, soldier. Very well. You're released from service with full honors." The council voted. The measure passed narrowly. Na-eun was free to operate independently, hunting the swarm wherever they appeared. She and Ji-won would lead a small team, funded by the coalition but answerable to no single government. After the session, Emperor Daejin requested a private call. Na-Yun almost refused, but Ji-won squeezed her hand encouragingly. Her father's hologram appeared, life-sized, in their quarters. He looked older than she remembered. Tired. Nan, he said. I owe you an apology that I can never adequately give. I was afraid of what you could see, afraid of what that meant about me. So I locked you away rather than face myself. You chose your comfort over your daughter. Na-Yun said quietly. You let me spend 10 years alone because looking at me made you uncomfortable. Yes, I did, and I will carry that shame until I die. He paused. But I'm asking you now, not as your emperor, but as your father, to help your people. The swarm is in our outer colonies. We're losing ground every day. We need you. I'm already helping, Na-Yun said. Not because you asked, but because it's right. But I'm not coming home, father. That place was never home to me. It was a prison. I understand, he said softly. Then let me help you instead. I'll provide whatever resources you need. Ships, supplies, information. No strings attached. Na-Yun studied him with her soul sight, looking past the words to the truth beneath. She saw genuine regret there, mixed with fear and shame. Not perfect, but honest. Accepted, she said. Over the following months, Na-Yun and Ji-won assembled their team. Captain Hyejin transferred from the Steadfast to join them. Engineer Do-hyun came along, fascinated by the challenge. Dr. Soman insisted on participating, eager to study the swarm further. They acquired a ship, the Wayfinder, fast and well-armed. Their work took them across Coalition space. On mining stations, they found workers infected and converted before symptoms showed. On passenger liners, they identified sleeper agents waiting to strike. In government offices, they uncovered infiltrators in positions of power. Na-Yun learned to weaponize her soul sight in new ways. She could project it outward, creating fields that disoriented swarm organisms by forcing them to confront their own fractured consciousness. It was exhausting but effective. She and Ji-won developed a rhythm, working together so smoothly it seemed like telepathy. He watched her back while she watched their souls. He handled the physical threats while she identified the hidden ones. They were a team in every sense, and somewhere along the way, friendship deepened into something more. It happened gradually, in small moments. Ji-won bringing her tea after a difficult extraction. Non laughing at his terrible jokes. Hands brushing in corridors. Comfortable silences that spoke more than words. One night, after a particularly hard mission where they'd lost a civilian despite their best efforts, they sat together in the Wayfinder's observation deck. Na-Yun was crying, something she rarely allowed herself. I saw his soul being eaten, she whispered. I saw him die from the inside out and I couldn't stop it. Ji-won held her, not offering empty platitudes. Just being there. I'm tired, she said. Tired of seeing so much darkness. Sometimes I wish I could be blind like everyone else. Your sight is a gift, Ji-won said. A heavy gift, but a gift. You've saved thousands of lives. You've stopped infiltrations that would have destroyed entire stations. And, he added softly, you've shown people that being different can be powerful. She looked up at him. When you look at me, what do you see? I see someone brave and kind and brilliant. I see someone who was hurt but refused to become cruel. I see, he paused, someone I love. The words hung in the air between them. Na-Yun's breath caught. You love me? For months now, Ji-won admitted. I just didn't know how to say it. You're not my reward or my responsibility. You're my partner, my friend, and the person I think about first when I wake up and last before I sleep. Na-Yun reached up and touched his face. I see your soul, Ji-won, and it's beautiful. Scarred and tired, but beautiful. I love you too. They kissed, finally acknowledging what had been growing between them. It felt right, inevitable, like two puzzle pieces finding their fit. Their happiness was short-lived. A week later, intelligence came in from multiple sources. The swarm was regrouping in the void dark, a region of space that sensors couldn't penetrate. They were building something massive, and when they struck again, it would be with overwhelming force. The coalition prepared for war, but everyone knew detection would be critical. They needed to know where the swarm would strike before it happened. I have to go into the void dark, Na-Yun said at the briefing. My soul sight can penetrate further than your sensors. I can find their staging grounds. It's suicide, Captain Hyjin protested. We'd be flying blind into swarm territory. Then I go alone, Na-Yun said. Not happening, Ji-won said firmly. We're partners. Where you go, I go, Ji-won. You could die. So could you. But we have a better chance together than apart. The mission was approved, though everyone knew it was desperate. The Wayfinder would slip into the void dark, using Naeun's abilities to navigate and identify swarm positions. It was dangerous, possibly fatal, but necessary. The night before departure, Naeun and Jiwon lay together, holding each other in the darkness. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "Me too," he said, "but I'd rather face the darkness with you than live safely without you. If we don't come back, we'll come back," Jiwon said with more confidence than he felt. "We've come too far to stop now." They entered the void dark at dawn. The stars vanished behind them as darkness, absolute and crushing, surrounded the ship. Naeun extended her soul sight as far as it could reach, searching for the consciousnesses of swarm organisms in the black. What she found terrified her. Not just ships or staging grounds, but something vast and ancient, a consciousness so large it defied comprehension. The swarm's true nature revealed itself to her inner sight, not evil, but broken, a species that had lost its way and now existed only to consume. And deep within that vast consciousness, she felt it notice her. Felt it reach back. "They know we're here," she whispered, "and they're coming for us." The swarm ships materialized from the darkness like nightmares given form. Dozens, then hundreds, surrounding the Wayfinder in a tightening net. Jiwon's hands flew across the weapons console, but he knew they were outmatched. "We can't fight through this," Captain Heejin said, her voice steady despite the odds. "Naeun, can you guide us out?" But Naeun wasn't listening. She stood at the center of the bridge, eyes unfocused, seeing beyond the physical. The swarm's vast consciousness pressed against her mind like deep ocean water, crushing and cold. "They want me," she said distantly. "They've always wanted me. I'm the only one who can truly see them." "Then we run," Jiwon said, reaching for her hand. She pulled away gently. "No, I need to go to them." "I need to understand." "Naeun, that's insane." "Trust me," she said, finally looking at him. Her eyes were full of tears and determination. "Please, Jiwon, trust me one more time." Before he could respond, she touched the communication panel. "I'm coming to you," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Let my ship go and I'll surrender willingly." The swarm ship stopped their advance. After a moment, they parted, creating a corridor through their formation. At the end, a massive construct pulsed with organic light. "That's their central hive," Dr. Soman breathed. "The core of their collective consciousness." "I'm taking a shuttle," Naeun said. "Alone?" "Not alone," Jiwon said firmly. "I'm going with you." "Jiwon, you'll die. Maybe. But you taught me something important. We're stronger together than apart, and if you're walking into hell, I'm walking beside you." They argued, but Jiwon wouldn't budge. Finally, Naeun agreed. They boarded a small shuttle, leaving Captain Heejin with orders to flee if things went wrong. The journey to the hive construct felt endless. Swarm ships escorted them, close enough to destroy the shuttle with a single shot, but they held back, waiting. Inside the hive, organic corridors pulsed with bioluminescent light. The air was thick and warm, almost like breathing inside a living creature. Naeun and Jiwon walked deeper, guided by something Naeun couldn't quite explain. At the heart of the hive, they found it. A vast chamber where thousands of swarm organisms connected to a central mass, their consciousnesses linked in an endless network. And at the very center, something that might have been a queen or might have been a god, ancient and vast. Naeun stepped forward, extending her soul sight fully. The swarm's consciousness rushed into her mind like a flood. She saw its history. A species that had once been individuals, beautiful and diverse. Then came the catastrophe, a cosmic event that shattered their ability to exist separately. They'd merged out of desperation, becoming a collective to survive. But in doing so, they'd lost something essential. They'd forgotten how to be alone, how to be themselves. Their parasitism wasn't malice. It was longing. They infected other beings because they were trying to remember what it felt like to be individual, to be whole, but they'd forgotten how to connect without consuming. "You're lonely," Naeun whispered. "You've been lonely for so long you forgot what connection feels like." The swarm's response came not in words but in emotions. Confusion, recognition, desperate hope. Jiwon stood ready to fight, but Naeun held up a hand. "They're not evil. They're broken. They're trying to heal the only way they know how, but it's killing everyone they touch." "Can you help them?" Jiwon asked. "I can try, but it might kill me." She reached out with her soul sight, not to observe, but to connect. She showed the swarm her own loneliness, the years locked in darkness, the pain of being isolated. And slowly, carefully, she showed them what Jiwan had taught her, that connection didn't require consumption. That you could be close to someone without losing yourself. The swarm consciousness wavered, caught between its desperate hunger and the possibility of something better. But it was too damaged, too fragmented to change on its own. I can break you apart, Naeun said. I can shatter your collective consciousness, force you back into individuals. But the psychic backlash might destroy me. The swarm's response was immediate, fear and refusal. Not because it wanted to stay collective, but because it didn't want to hurt her. Why? Naeun asked. Why do you care? The answer came in a rush of images. The swarm had been watching her for months. They'd seen her kindness, her struggle, her growth. In her, they saw what they'd lost. Someone who was different, alone, but learning to connect without losing herself. She was hope. The possibility that they too could heal. Jiwan stepped forward. There's another way. Naeun can't anchor herself alone, but I can anchor her. Human neural augmentation. It's designed to maintain consciousness under extreme conditions. If we link our minds, I can keep her grounded while she breaks the collective apart. That could kill you both, Dr. Soman's voice crackled over their communicators. The feedback would be immense. We know, Jiwan said. He looked at Naeun. Together? She took his hand. Together. They sat at the center of the chamber. Naeun placed her hands on the central mass while Jiwan linked his augmented neural system to hers, using a medical connector. Their consciousnesses merged, and for the first time Jiwan could see what Naeun saw. It was overwhelming. Billions of souls pressed together, their individual lights merged into a blinding whole, and running through all of it, pain and loneliness so profound it made him want to weep. Naeun gathered her strength and pushed. Her soul sight, amplified by Jiwan's mental presence, pierced the swarm's collective consciousness like a blade of light. She found the connections that bound them together and began to cut. The backlash was immediate and terrible. The swarm screamed, not with sound but with psychic agony. Naeun's consciousness started to fragment under the pressure. But Jiwan was there, his augmented mind holding her together like hands catching water. Stay with me, he called through their link. I've got you. She cut deeper, severing billions of forced connections. The swarm organisms began to separate, their individual consciousnesses emerging from the collective like butterflies from cocoons. Some died too damaged to survive alone, but most lived experiencing themselves as individuals for the first time in eons. The hive construct began to collapse. Organic walls shuddered and tore. Warning lights flashed on the wayfinder as Captain Heejin maneuvered closer. Get out of there, she shouted over the comm, but Naeun couldn't stop. She was too deep in the swarm's consciousness, still cutting, still separating. The psychic feedback was killing her, burning through her mind like fire. Jiwan felt her slipping away. Without thinking, he did something desperate. He used his augmented neural system to absorb some of the backlash, taking the pain into himself. His body convulsed as his brain tried to process input it wasn't designed for. No, Naeun gasped through their link. Jiwan, stop. Together, he reminded her. We're in this together. They hung between life and death, two minds merged into one, cutting through the last of the swarm's forced bonds. And then finally it was done. The collective consciousness shattered completely, and billions of swarm organisms found themselves alone, individual, free. The feedback hit like a hammer. Jiwan and Naeun both screamed as their minds nearly tore apart. But their bond held barely, two souls clinging to each other in the chaos. Captain Heejin pulled them out with minutes to spare. The hive construct collapsed behind them, and the wayfinder fled through the void dark with a fleet of no longer hostile swarm ships following at a respectful distance. Jiwan woke 3 days later in the medical bay. His head felt like someone had taken it apart and put it back together wrong. Beside him, Naeun lay unconscious, her breathing shallow. Is she... He couldn't finish the question. Dr. Soman smiled tiredly. She'll live. You both will. Though I have no idea how. The neural damage you both sustained should have been fatal. Our bond, Jiwan said. We held each other together. Naeun woke that evening. The first thing she did was look at Jiwan, really look at him with her soul sight. What she saw made her cry. Your light is dimmer, she whispered. You gave so much to save me. And I'd do it again, Jiwan said. Every time. The coalition greeted their return with disbelief and celebration. The swarm was no longer a threat. The freed organisms were communicating, learning to exist as individuals, asking to join the coalition as its newest member species. Emperor Dajin came to the station personally. He approached Neon's bed and for the first time in years looked directly at his daughter without flinching. "I am sorry," he said, "for everything. I was afraid of you and that fear made me cruel. I should have been a father, not a warden." Neon studied him with her soul sight. She saw genuine remorse there and something else, pride. "You're abdicating," she realized. "Yes, Veltara needs new leadership. Your sister Mire has agreed to take the throne. She's better suited to it than I ever was." He paused. "I came to ask if you would return home. Not as the cursed one, not as a prisoner, but as my daughter." "I can't," Neon said gently. "That place holds too many painful memories. But I'll visit, and I'll help rebuild our relationship if you're willing to try." "I am," he said, "though I know I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Forgiveness isn't about deserving," Neon said. "It's about choosing to stop letting pain control you." After he left, Jiwan squeezed her hand. "What happens now?" "Now?" Neon smiled. "Now we live. We explore. We help where we can. We figure out what it means to be us." "Sounds perfect." The wedding happened.